Welcome back to the channel. On this episode of the van build, I'm going to be showing you how I installed the LPG tank under the van. Unfortunately, I mistakenly deleted the spraying of the tank for this video, but all you missed out on was me spraying the tank with some underseal. What I sprayed the tank with was this underseal, and you can buy it in Halfords, and what it is, it's got a wax oil. It protects the tank from stone chips, corrosion, water, salts that are on the road when you're driving along. I got the tank from LPG shop in the UK. It took over 2 months to arrive from Britain because of the Brexit, and eventually it arrived, so I managed to fit it in a few days. I'm happy with how the install went, and now just to finish it off, I've got to hook it up to the water heater and the 2-burner hob. Then once I have that hooked up, I'm going to get it looked at by professionals so I can get a cert on it and get it passed, and to make sure that there's no leaks. Another thing that I recorded but I deleted by mistake was I soldered the wires coming from the level gauge on the tank to a 2-core cable that came with the kit, and then that allows you to run the cable into the van and then connect the level gauge inside the van. But basically all it is a soldering kit, and you solder the 2 wires together. And I chose to solder them instead of connecting them with spades, just in case the spades became loose. Soldering is just a better option, I think. I hope you find the video useful and helps you with your LPG gas tank install, and it gives you some tips and ideas on how to install it. If you've got any questions, just pop them in the comment section below this video and I'll reply to them as soon as possible. Thanks very much for watching. Enjoy the video. The next thing I have to do is I have to remove this gauge and then replace it with this gauge that I've got, and that means that when I fit this gauge in, I can then run these cables to the inside of the van. I can then hook it up to this filler gauge inside the van. It has an on-off switch, and you basically attach it by sticking it on. So you have the red is your 12 volt, so that will run directly to the fuse box, and then the black is the ground, and the green is the signal. And the reason I know that is because I read the instructions. Now, the first thing I got to do is loosen this bracket. This bracket is just so you can actually close it, so you can put on the cover, and I just have to remove that so then I can get into the... It's the next day and it's a bit brighter than it was last night when I was soldering these cables together, so I'll just explain to you what I've done. The cables coming from the pressure gauge are a green cable, which is the live, and the black, which is the ground. So I connected them to a 2-core cable, which was blue and brown cable. That blue is the neutral, so I connected that to the black ground cable coming from the pressure gauge, and then I connected the green live to the brown live on the 2-core cable, and then that means that I have this done. So then when I have this installed under the van, it's a lot easier to have done this now than to try and solder or connect these cables under the van. So I've already pre-installed this tank into the brackets, and that's why I've got all these scrapes. So once this is installed and I have it at the correct angle, I'm going to touch it up because it has to be installed at an angle of 25 degrees. So what I've done is I've downloaded an app onto my phone, and I will show you how I'm going to use that app and my phone to get the correct angle of 25 degrees that the tank has to be placed at under the van. So that's the next step, and let's give that a go. Now that I have these brackets coated with the under seal, I've given them one coat of the under seal. What I'll do next is, these rubber bands come with the kit. What you're supposed to do with these rubber bands is you're supposed to line the inside of the brackets with the rubber band, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to secure these rubber bands to the brackets using this spray adhesive fast tack. And the reason I'm going to glue those rubber bands on is because if you just try and put them on the brackets without any glue and you don't glue them on, what will happen is as soon as you try to install the tank, they'll just fall out. So I'm going to cut them to length using a scissors and then stick them on with the fast tack. So I've now managed to get the tank fitted. I've just roughly put it in as it is at an angle, and what I'm doing is I'm using this app called Bubble Level, and if you can see, it's got the degrees here at the bottom, and then this level will actually flip to the side. So then what you can do is, if you find a flat surface, right now that's at 21, say 20 degrees. So I don't know if you can see that, but it's 20.5 degrees, so that means this has to be rotated a bit more to get that 25 degrees. That's 25 degrees spot on there now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten up these bolts, that bolt there and then the other bolt, and then secure this in place. I forgot to put on this cover for the filler hose outlet, so I've taken it off, and what I've done is I've put on this cover, and now I'm going to actually reattach it. So I'm going to tighten it back up, and this is a bit of a nightmare to get it on. So what I've used is just a few squirts of WD-40. I'm now on the opposite side of the van, and what I've done is I've run the filling point cable up along the chassis, and I've connected it with cable ties at certain points, and I've now run it to this side, to the opposite side of the van. And I've done that because I want the filling point to be on the same side as the diesel, and the reason for that is because it might make it easier when I'm filling up the diesel, if it's all in the same area, then to just grab the LPG and fill up the tank on the same side. So what I've got to do is I've got to connect the filling point pipe to this connection here, and then what I have to do is mount that to this bracket here. So the way that connects is that's now the filling point installed, and it's running up along the back here. So there it is. That's the filler point now installed. The next thing I have to do is install the regulator and connect the pigtail to the tank, and then the pigtail to the regulator, and then run a copper pipe from the regulator to the inside of the van, so then I can supply the hob with the gas and supply the water heater with the gas. So what you do is, there's two ends to the pigtail, and one end will attach onto your regulator, like so. So now I have this hooked up, so all I got to do is go under the van and connect this to the outlet on the tank, and then secure this to the underbody of the van, with 2 self-tapping screws, and then we're good to go. So this is where the tank has been installed, and I'm going to give it another coat of the underseal protection, and that will that's just going to cover up any areas where I scratched it installing it. And it's a tight squeeze here. As you can see, I'm right beside the exhaust, so the reason I have it facing this way is because if you see from there, I couldn't really turn it to the outside because there's not enough room here between the tank and the outside wall of the van. So the only option was to have it facing inwards. So what I did then was, first I connected up the filler point. I connected up the filler point here, and then I ran that towards the back to the opposite side of the van, to the sliding door. And then the second pipe I connected was the outlet, so the gas outlet pipe, and I connected that on there. Then I ran that to the regulator, and as you can see, the regulator is secured to the floor of the van. And then from there I connected the copper pipe. The copper pipe runs from the regulator here, comes down, comes around there, and then I have it secured here with these securing brackets which have a rubber band around them to protect the copper pipe. Then the copper pipe runs down along here, so it runs from the regulator, connected all the ways down every 400 meters to the side of the van, and then runs all the ways down here. Then I put a bend in it and drilled a hole in the floor and pushed it through the hole in the floor, and then beside that hole I drilled another hole. Then I ran the cable for the gas tank level indicator all the ways up along, and I secured that again with the cable ties and into the van. Now that I have the underslung gas tank installed, I just have to connect up the copper pipe. So I've drilled a hole for the copper pipe running from the gas tank underneath the van, and now what I've got to do is connect that copper pipe to it's a two-way manifold, I think that's what it's called, and one will go to the gas heater and then the other one will go to the 2-burner hob. How I'm going to cut the copper pipe is with this little tool here. So what that is, it's an adjustable copper pipe cutter, and what you do is you just put the copper pipe in, then you turn this knob there, and then what that does is secures around the copper pipe, and then you twist it around like that, and you just keep going around, and as you're going around then you just keep tightening, and then eventually you've got a nice clean cut on the copper pipe there. That's one I did earlier. That's the manifold now. The copper pipe connected to the manifold. You just got to give that a hoover, and then I can run this cable, and what I'll do is I'll run it underneath the water heater up along the back of the fridge, and then in along here, and I'll pop it out here somewhere, and it's going to go on this panel. So this panel is out at the moment. It's going to go in there at the back of the shower. As you can see, I have both the copper pipe and the level gauge wire protected with a conduit, and that's running down through the van. That's the end of this episode. That's another job finished in the van, and it's a really big job, and I was waiting on this tank for the last 2 months to arrive from the UK because of Brexit. It was held up. The tank was sent back because the paperwork had to be redone to send the tank across to Ireland, so an absolute nightmare ordering anything from Britain at the moment because of Brexit. But anyway, we got it. The tank's now installed. The last thing to do is to hook it up to the water heater and then also hook it up to the 2-burner hob. I hope you found this episode useful and it gives you some ideas on how to install an underslung gas tank for your camper van. If you found it useful, please do give it a like. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell icon and you'll be notified for future videos in the van build series. And it also means that you'll be the first to be notified of the next videos in the van build. So thanks again for watching. See you on the next one. Good luck.